Today we are going to be reviewing David Lynch's 1986 film, Blue Velvet. This review was one by request and was suggested by Samwise7 RPG, also known as Tim. Now I must admit that I was reluctant to do this review simply because the first time I ever watched Blue Velvet, it ruined me for a week. However, watching it again, I was able to look past the film's disturbing marriage of naivete and sexual perversity to examine the themes of a film that is truly one of a kind. It would be impossible for me to discuss Blue Velvet without first mentioning the film's director, David Lynch. Beginning his career with his low-budget but extremely effective Eraserhead, Lynch has carved a place for himself within modern cinema, simply because nobody does what he does. He is a true auteur in every sense of the word. With a few exceptions, you can look at his film and television work and know that it is undeniably David Lynch. Because of this, his name has also become an adjective. The word Lynchian has become synonymous with work that is mysterious, dreamlike, perplexing, at times both innocent and sexually charged. Very few directors can claim this, and Alfred Hitchcock is the most notable. Not bad company to be in, Mr. Lynch. Not bad at all. Blue Velvet premiered in 1986 to mostly critical acclaim. However, it also received poor reviews from some critics who saw the film as tantamount to mean-spirited pornography. And when you take the scenes out of context, it's difficult to argue against that. However, given the film as a whole, the themes with which the director is playing, these scenes of sex and violence provide such a gut punch that they are necessary for the film to work as well as it does. Blue Velvet is a film that includes mystery, voyeurism, rape, kidnapping, drug dealing, mutilation, violence, police corruption, and a scene where Al from Quantum Leap does the most terrifying lip sync ever caught on film. Love it or hate it, this movie is guaranteed to make you feel something. The story begins with Jeffrey Beaumont, played by Kyle MacLachlan, home from college visiting his father in the hospital. While wandering in a field, Jeffrey discovers a severed human ear. After taking the ear to the police in a scene that plays a little like a parody of Dragnet, he soon enlists the police detective's daughter, Sandy, played by Laura Dern, to help him solve the mystery of the severed ear. It sounds like a horrible Hardy Boys title. Their amateur detective work leads them to the apartment of Dorothy Valance, played by Isabella Rossellini, a nightclub singer. In a brilliantly tense scene, Jeffrey finds himself inside Dorothy's closet, only to be discovered and held at knife point. Dorothy forces him to disrobe and begins to seduce him, but soon the real villain of the film shows up, in the form of drug-addicted rapist Frank Booth, played by the brilliant Dennis Hopper. Our first interaction with Frank is from Jeffrey's perspective, looking on from the closet in horror as Frank verbally, physically, and sexually abuses Dorothy. But what's worse, she seems to be turned on by it. Frank has no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and is the starkest representation of evil. It is clear that he has corrupted Dorothy and is perfectly happy destroying everything that he touches. He has odd fetishes and seems to view Dorothy as a sexualized mother figure, both using her for sexual pleasure and maternal comfort. It seems as though Jeffrey has bitten off more than he can chew, but that doesn't slow him down. He soon forms a romantic and sexual relationship with Dorothy, one in which she requests that he hit her while they make love. A request that he finds disturbing, but that doesn't stop him from smacking her around at least once. At the same time, Jeffrey maintains a naive and sexless relationship with Sandy. Our hero keeps switching back and forth between these two characters, all the while trying to get to the bottom of who the ear belongs to and what it has to do with nitrous-huffing Frank. Along the way, Jeffrey runs afoul of Frank in person and is taken on what can only be described as a rocket sled hell ride. Seriously, if you had a night like this, you'd be in a mental institution. Frank takes Jeffrey and Dorothy out on the town where they attend a small party, air quotes, at a whorehouse run by Ben, played by Dean Stockwell. It is here we discover that Dorothy's husband and child are being held hostage by Frank, who uses her as his sex slave. From there we move to a wooded area just outside of town where Frank begins to sexually abuse Dorothy in front of everyone. After standing up for her, Jeffrey is beaten and left for dead. Now, maybe I'm a coward, but if I had just experienced the same night Jeffrey had, I may have called it quits and run back to college and quite possibly a therapist. But he soldiers on, managing to take Sandy to a high school party that next evening. Anyway, now while this film can be viewed as a mystery, the mystery is only the context for Jeffrey having all of these bizarre and horrible experiences. The mystery itself was, is, and always will be secondary to the scenes of visceral duality. And that's what makes the film so interesting. It's not about a mystery being solved, it's really about emotions and mood. Blue Velvet appeals to our basest feelings. The opening of the film, with its scenes of stylized American nostalgia, provides us with a surface that, when we delve deeper, deconstructs the duality of human nature. And when you get down to it, that's what Blue Velvet is really all about: the skeletons in the closet of humanity. And each character in this film is meant to represent not fully fleshed out people, but ideas and archetypes. The protagonist Jeffrey represents man himself, with Sandy existing as the virginal portrait of innocence and Dorothy representing the dark and sexual. Jeffrey, in getting caught in romantic relationships with these two women, is essentially caught between two versions of himself. And when these two worlds collide in a scene that has Dorothy naked and beaten in front of Jeffrey's house, these visceral feelings hit us hard. We feel disgusted, not just with the characters on screen, but with humanity as a whole. Throughout the film, we switch stylistically from the 50s parody small town landscape to the more starkly brutal, perverse underbelly. Renowned film critic Roger Ebert has criticized the film for this, saying that the lighthearted scenes undermine the tension and storytelling of the sexually violent ones. I couldn't disagree more. This isn't sloppy filmmaking. Lynch makes the audience voyeurs on his odyssey into the strange. By juxtaposing these two worlds, we are asked to choose between them, which is what makes this film so brilliant. As the film ends, the characters go back to their superficial lives. They seem to forget the horrors they've witnessed, but we, the audience, can never forget. Blue Velvet is not for everyone. At times, it is an endurance test. But if you want to see something truly different, I recommend it. Stylistically, it is a broken masterpiece that doesn't concern itself with plot, but instead emotion. Well, thank you for listening to this review. Next time we have another review by request from Zix the Pest, who wants me to take a look at Savage Steve Holland's film, Better Off Dead. Thank you for listening. See you later.